Okay, so getting user to input something and printing out. Let's look at one, input of numbers. In order to let the user input something, you have to interact with the user. Now, the function used to do this is called the input function. Okay, you know about functions a little, right, from your calculus and the rest. You see, functions take a number, do something to it, then give you an output. And functions always come into brackets because they accept input, also known as argument, or functions like to argue. Look at the sine function. We never write sine as in like raw sine without the bracket in calculus, unless maybe addition. The sine function, always you have sine of a number, sine theta, sine this, sine that, because functions always need argument. They like to argue, right? They like to argue. Oh, I don't know where they came from. Now, input is a function, so it also likes to argue. We don't want to argue with it, so let's just give it what it wants. Input is a function, so it's waiting for its argument. Now, look at line 3. VAR or var is just our self-proclaimed or self-defined variable. It's not anything to be scared of. We just call this var. Variables are placeholders. You are already aware of this. We are storing whatsoever will be input into our function into var because we need to store them. We need them for future use. Now, let's go over line 3 again. Line 3 is saying input, open bracket, enter your number. Enter your number is just the prompt you want the user to see. This function is going to do something, or the like argument, you don't argue with them. This function is going to tell the user to input something, and it's going to allow the user to be able to input something into the MATLAB. Now, when the user inputs that thing, it's stored in var. That is it. The same thing is happening at line 2. Whatsoever the user will input, it will be stored in var 2. Now, we want the user to enter two numbers, so we wrote the code twice. The first one was for our first number, and line 4, the second one was for our second number. We are taking two inputs from the user. Now, let's go over any of them. Var 2 equals input. You are good with this line. Open bracket, that is the argument of the function. Double quotes, it doesn't matter. You could bring single quotes. Well, unless you like quotations. I think I like quotations, so I brought double quotes. I don't like going to church. Okay, let's continue. Enter your second number, semicolon, and I gave space before the double quotes. Double quotes again. I'm reading the Bible these days. Fine. The space there is just to make your work nice, right? You don't want the person to use your program and say, what kind of programmer are you? That's why we brought a space there. So they will have some interval and we brought a colon, right? It's not any syntax whatsoever it is. Fine. Let's come to line 5. We want to print the first number. Print F, right? First num is. Okay, so your first number is F print F is also a function. Well, we don't want to argue with it. Let's give it what it wants. Functions like to argue. First num is percentage D. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Anytime you see percentage, right? Percentage within your F print F function, it is used for formatting. What is formatting? Well, we have digits, several digits, and we have where you use integers, we have where you use decimals. Decimals are called floating point in MATLAB, so they are represented with F, right? So when you get to line 6, you understand the meaning of the F. It's a floating point, nothing to worry about. The D doesn't really stand for decimal. Or you can say it stands for decimal. Let's call it an integer, right? An integer. What's an integer? Just a number without decimal part. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are integers. But what are your fractions? Or your floating point? They are the numbers with decimal part. Okay, so 4.2, 4.3. Let's continue. Now the decimal D, it's they like to eavesdrop or they like to gossip. Always they are looking at the variable ahead of them. The percentage D, it's looking at the next variable. It wants to do something to it. It wants to send it to integer format, right? Okay, so first number is colon percentage D. It's a formatter. Let's call it a formatter. It's going to format VAR, which is the input, the user input. So if, for instance, the user input 4.2, because percentage D needs an integer, it will concatenate the two away, which implies you have 4. Let's continue. Line 6, F printf, second number is percentage 0.2f. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. The 0.2f just means 2 decimal places. That is it. So if you have 4.231234588, it will just print out 4.23. That is it. 2 floating point numbers. Floating point are just decimal places. Today floating MATLAB. Why floating point? Well, we are not confused. Still Vim. Comma var2. Floating point is going to what? Eavesdrop. Is always watching var2's movement. Then you convert it to what? To decimal place or 0.2 floating point numbers. So let's look at the input of the strings. Now, str is our variable for storing the string, right? String. Sorry. Okay, let's continue. We don't want to. Okay, so for here, I think you're okay. Looking at the definition of the var input and everything, okay. So let's move here. Let's come here straight to this point, right? Because I think you're okay with that side. Anytime you want to input a string, just follow the syntax, right? For now, of course, you don't have enough time. Comma, bring your s in quotes, right? It can be double quotes, it can be single quotes, it doesn't matter. These days, I'm going to church. I like quotations from the Bible, so I'm using double quotes more, right? You don't like going to church. If you don't like going to church, you can use single quotes. Okay. Now, okay, so single quotes here. S, then close your bracket like that. The S is preparing it to take a string. Let's move up to the line 3. Did we see any comma S there? No. It's for numbers, right? Let's come down to line 8. Because we want to enter a string, just do this, right? That's the syntax. So just follow it. Comma S in quotes. Fine. Now we want to print out the string. Look at line 9. F print F. You entered. Okay. Formatter again. These formatters are stubborn. They're always watching us and formatting us. They format your memory. You lose memory. Will you be able to function well? Why do you want to format us? Okay, let's look at something. Format or the percentage S means format it to string. That is it. Right? Format it to string. So we are going to print out a string. Comma. Why is this str here? Because let me tap it for you to see. This str. Because it was defined here or declared here. We want to print it out. That's why we brought it here. Okay, no big deal. Now the display you entered here it is just another way of printing out. It's just another way of displaying, right? Or using the fprintf, right? So display. If you want to use display instead of fprintf, you can do that, and you are putting this in a row vector. Okay, so you entered. Just study the syntax. You can choose to go with fprintf and be safe. The display is just another option for those who want to choose that. So you're okay with that? Fine. Let's try to run this code. It's not going to be nice, but you introduce someone new. I think he already has new in his name. We look at that. This is running slowly. Okay. Enter command here, right? Because line 3 is prompting us to enter. Enter a number. So 1. Second number 2. Enter a string. Let's say W-E. We. I don't like to smoke, but let's weed. Now, every input is okay here. But can you see the numbers? Can you see the output sort of clumped together? We need to break the lines. So we are introducing someone new, but it's called new. That's the new line character, right? We just do slash and do what? No, we don't really need him here. We need him in the output. So let's put it here. The new line character is nothing to be scared of, right? We are bringing a new character called new line /n. He's going to break the lines. So for instance, if first number is %d, if whatsoever it is, the evaluate, right? The line will be broken. So this will be printed on the new line. Then we break the line again, right? Take new line as entering enter on your keyboard. So you are entering enter, right? Okay. You break the line, and I think it's okay because the last outprint is already at the line. We don't need to break the line again. So that's the function of the new line character. So we can run this code again. Enter a number 1, 2. So now the lines have been broken, right? We are not okay. So we didn't break the line after the string. I think so. You see that you entered. You are supposed to break the line. We didn't break the line, so I'll leave that to you. All you have to do is just do what? Break the line here, and you are good to go. Break the line at this side, and it's not going to show up on the same line. That's the function of the new line character. It's nothing to be scared of.